Hi everyone, my name is Jocelyn Mitchell and you are now viewing my presentation on a reading strategy called Talking to the Text. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me by the email on this slide. I also have a survey I would like for you to complete on the last slide of my presentation. Let's get started. Talking to the text. Conversations help us gain a better understanding of how the world works. Through conversations, you may learn something new, justify your own opinion, respectfully challenge an idea of another, and develop a better understanding of the world and how it works. Conversations, when it applies to the learning processes, do the same thing. The talking to the text strategy encourages readers to make connections with their reading and to deepen their understandings. Students should be relating the situations or characters of the text to their own understandings of the world, prior knowledge, and experiences to provide a better understanding of what they are reading. When students are able to familiarize themselves with a situation, it helps them to understand it more. When it comes to comprehending what you are reading, gaining a sense of situational familiarity helps the reader become more comfortable in their reading and helps you to better retain new information. While doing this strategy, students can talk internally by writing their thoughts down directly on paper or externally by doing a think aloud with a partner. This process can also be called marking up the text. What makes the talking to the text strategy unique is that your thoughts are written down in the margins of your papers versus discussed as a whole group first. Students have the ability to gather all of their thoughts and gives all students more time to digest the text. What does it look like? Here is a student example of the talking to the text strategy from a reading apprenticeship website. As I mentioned before, one of the unique features of the strategy is the ability for students to write on their own individual papers. The reader can also write as little or as much as they want. As long as they are able to effectively communicate their thoughts to others, it doesn't matter if they write complete sentences or abbreviate in other places on their papers. Their thoughts and understandings of a text is their own, and there are no right or wrong answers. In this example, the person chose to circle portions of the text they deemed important. The reader can also highlight, which ultimately does the same thing. Highlighting or underlining text has been proven to reap benefits in learning. Deciding what to mark and what not to mark engages students in a deeper thinking than just simply reading the text. When a reader highlights a portion of a text, this helps the information to be more memorable. Also, if a student were to look at their paper again, the portions that they highlighted, circled, or underlined will stand out more and will engage the students into possibly learning something new upon revisiting the text. Looking at the picture on the slide, you can clearly see what the reader thought was important, and those portions stick out to the viewer of the picture as well. Why should we teach this strategy? I feel that there are three key reasons why you should teach this strategy. Talking to the text improves reading comprehension, gives students the opportunity to look beyond the surface of a text, and helps students to expand, justify, and debate the ideas of others and their own as well. Educators should be teaching students not only how to comprehend what they are learning, but how to read deeper into a text as well. Instructing students on how to find big ideas or meaning form inferences using textual evidence, and how to elaborate and explain their thoughts are key strategies for deeper reading comprehension. Once students gain a better understanding of how to talk about their own ideas, they will be able to talk about, expand, challenge, and debate on the ideas of others constructively. The theories behind the strategy. There are two major theories in support of the talking to the text strategy, which I believe work well together as well. Those theories are the schema and metacognition theory. The schema theory is the belief that every comprehensive act is supported by someone's knowledge of the world around them. Smith states, everything we know and believe is organized in a theory of what the world is like, a theory that is the basis of all our perceptions and understandings of the world, the root of all learning, the sources of hopes and fears, motive and expectancies, reasoning and creativity, and this theory is all we have. If we make sense of the world at all, it is by interpreting our interactions with the world in the light of our theory. When applying this theory to the talking to the text strategy, students are constantly using their background knowledge and experiences while they read to gain a deeper understanding of the text. Without the use of this, students would not be able to form new connections to enrich their prior knowledge of a subject. The metacognitive theory is when a learner thinks about their own thinking to monitor their learning. When it comes to reading comprehension, students pull information from the text and their knowledge to help build a deeper understanding of a text. Through the talking to the text strategy, students are asked to question, clarify, predict, and sometimes summarize a text, which studies have proven to increase students' understanding of main ideas presented in a text. Students would be unable to complete these tasks if they had not thought about their own thinking. They are constantly moving back and forth between their own thinking and new information to help submit the new information to memory. When I think about these two theories together, I think of your schema being your mental file cabinet, and metacognition being the person in your head sorting through your file cabinet trying to determine which information is relevant for the task at hand. Each person has all of this knowledge in their head, but they have to think about when to apply that knowledge and how it pertains to each situation in order to deepen their understandings. As you notice in the graphic on this slide, it kind of gives you an idea of what is happening in your head, determining what information to use and what is determined by your thoughts and about your own thinking. Put it to the test. Now that we have talked about the theories behind this strategy, why don't we take a look at two cases where the strategies were implemented? In the article, Teaching the Talk, Not the Text, there was a study from a 6th grade classroom whose instructor implemented a 4-month intervention to teach students how to engage with the text for deeper meaning through explicit instruction. Using an online program called Knowledge Forum, which allowed students to share and create their own literacy interpretations of text, and to comment on another student's post by extending, justifying, and or clarifying ideas, teachers were able to monitor student progress in the area of reading comprehension. As the class read aloud, Out of My Mind by Sharon Draper served as the common text. The teacher would read a portion of the text and students would then discuss their thoughts, connections, or questions on Knowledge Forum or through Chalk Talks. Chalk Talks were silent written conversations on the chalkboard where students were able to write their thoughts and other students could comment on those thoughts. The intervention revealed a 100% success rate and a deeper understanding of how the students interpreted the text and supported their ideas with evidence. The second study was in a 9th grade classroom. It was from an article titled 1996 to 1999, 9th Grade Academic Literacy Course Studies. It was a study from a 9th grade class in California. Students were given a course called Academic Literacy where the focus was to help to deepen the understanding of students while they were reading. Teachers implemented many metacognitive strategies as well as different variations of talking to the text strategies. The first time the study was completed, students gained an average of 2 years of growth in 7 months of instruction on a standardized reading comprehension test. Students' attitudes towards reading also progressed as most were reading twice the amount of books they were the year before. The students were then followed to 10th grade for a second study. All students had gained over a year of growth at their independent reading level. Overall, research has found that teaching students how to make connections, use prior knowledge and experiences, and ask questions in the form of the talking to the text strategy have increased the level of reading comprehension of all students. The process of having students think about their thinking and write about it was vital to improving reading comprehension. Now that you know a little bit about the talking to the text strategy, you may be wondering, what do I talk about? When implementing this strategy, it's important to discuss Proficient readers use 3 strategies for connections as they read: making connections to the text, the world, and their prior knowledge and experiences. Forming a connection between yourself and the text is when you're able to personally connect to something in the text. So that would be connecting text to self. So an example of what someone could write, this reminds me of when we went to blank. So they're making a personal connection because they're remembering something they did. Connecting the text to the world would be an example of connecting the text to a topic or an issue that's going on in the world. So an example of a sentence starter for that would be, we learned about this issue in science where, and you go on to explain that issue that is connected to what you're reading in the text. The final connection you can form is connecting the text to the text. So when something reminds you of another article that you've read or another piece of literature, 2 books maybe remind you of each other. So an example of the sentence starter would be, this reminds you of a story I read last year about, and you would go on to explain that story just to make sure that you are aware of the connection when you go back and read them. On this slide are examples of common or generic questions a reader may ask of the text. Questions will vary by content area and topic. Asking questions will help students to recognize their previous understandings and helps to build onto their understanding of the current reading. Asking the right questions can clear up confusions that the reader may have while reading. Some of the common questions you may see are, what still confuses me? I don't understand. I wonder why. What if? Or why is that? The final piece of the strategy that your students should be engaging in are making predictions and forming inferences. When gaining a deeper understanding of a text, it's important to read between the lines or anticipate what's going to happen next. This skill helps proficient readers comprehend more of the information they are reading. We make inferences every day, so it's important to point out the connection between a skill we do daily and how it can be applied to reading to help students gain a better understanding of the skill. For instance, the picture on the slide is a picture of my dogs. There are many inferences you can make, such as the yellow dog is angry or mean, the black dog is scared, the yellow dog is a girl because girl dogs tend to be more protective and aggressive. You could also predict that the yellow dog bit the black dog after this picture was taken. These inferences and predictions help us gain a better understanding of what might be going on in the picture. We also were able to form our opinions based on our prior knowledge and experiences with dogs. That process we just went through to evaluate the picture is the similar process students should be doing when evaluating text. When completing the talking to the text strategy, a reader should combine all the pieces to simulate deeper meaning in a text. Also, before we move on, the real story behind this picture is the 2 dogs were playing, and I just happened to snap the picture right before his sneeze. I'll have you know that no dogs were harmed in the making of this presentation. Now that we've talked about what the strategy entails, let's see it in action. This visual is 2 6th grade girls who were reading a science article about drones. They were working together, and while one read the paragraph, the other recorded the reader's thoughts on the paper, and vice versa.
Okay, drones may bring medical help to seriously injured people. I bet that's what the article is going to be about, okay? Baltimore, Maryland. That's probably where it's going to be setting place. Or it could be where, they invented it. I don't know. Okay, flying drones could one day carry life or death health supplies. Well, okay. Between hospitals, a team at Johns Hopkins Medicine learned how to keep blood and medicine safe during flights. Wonder where that place is.
Okay, drones are also called unmanned aerial vehicles. They're flown by remote control. Oh, that's cool. There is no pilot on a drone. Oh.
Okay. Interest in the use of drones has grown lately. Companies are exploring using them for delivery. That makes me think, who made the drones? Drones can fly above traffic, through bad weather, and into hard-to-reach areas.
Steady temperature. Oh, I didn't know they had to say like that.
Okay. If the blood somehow was changed or destroyed in transport, then none of it matters, said Dr. Timothy Mukiel. He's probably at Johns Hopkins, I think. Yeah, he works at Hopkins being a refrigerator under 18 months. It's like a year and a half.
Yeah, that's a lot. Okay. Mukiel published findings in a magazine in November. They showed no biological change to blood packed in refrigerated coolers during test flights. The drone flights lasted about 26 minutes and covered 12 miles. They flew 328 feet above the ground. That's high.
Okay. Mukiel hopes to begin sending drones between Bayview Center and Johns Hopkins Hospital. The two places are less than 3 miles apart. So if that works, does that mean like they're gonna like do it for all over the place?
Yeah.
He still needs an okay from neighbors who might hear buzzing overhead. He also needs permission from the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, which recently made rules about drones.
Other Baltimore area hospitals and more distant ones could be included. Drones would let them share medicine and blood products. Mukiel thinks eventually emergency workers could ask for blood at the scene of accidents and natural disasters.
Okay. Drones may become a realistic choice, said Ian Weston. He's the leader of the American Trauma Society. It is a group of those who treat trauma, which is when people are seriously injured.
Fast deliveries by drones would save lives, Weston said. It would help when patients can't be taken quickly to a hospital, he said.
Okay, he said most trauma patients can get to the hospital within 60 minutes. With serious injuries, timing can be a difference between life or death. Huh, wow.
Communities likely would support use of drones for help.
When implementing the strategy into the classroom, there's a lot of front-loading that needs to be done, but the overall lasting effects will be beneficial. First, the teacher should model the strategy as a think aloud to expose the students. Then, give examples of how to make your thinking visible. The guidelines for thinking, again, are questions, connections, predictions, and inferences, but explaining to the students what exactly that looks like is important. The teacher should then model the strategy using a common text with the whole class, slowly releasing the responsibility of the strategy onto the students. Then allow for students to practice with independent reading books or another common text, depending on the abilities of the class. To introduce this strategy with the teacher think aloud, it's important that the students see entirely what should be done before digging into the activity for themselves. The teacher should only use his or her own thoughts and shouldn't take any input from the students yet. Students will have an opportunity to contribute to the think aloud process later on. The teacher talks to the text on the document camera or another device where students can see the teacher's paper. And then the students record everything the teacher writes down on their own papers. The students see how the strategy works and get some ideas of what to note or to question. The students can also use the teacher think aloud as a reference when they are completing the task independently later on. Now, if you tell students to just talk, you won't necessarily get out of them what you are asking. It's important to give them some guidelines of strong conversations to have with their text. I would suggest making an anchor chart around the room that students can use as a reference. For example, when a student is making a connection with something, they can use, I connected to blank when, this reminds me of, this is like, this is familiar to because, this makes me think about. For questions, these will look very familiar because they were on an earlier slide. What still confuses me? I don't understand. I wonder why. What if? Why is that? Or any question that is specific to the article or the text that the student is reading. For predictions and inferences, some good sentence starters are, I predict, my guess is, I infer, it could be that, maybe, this could mean, or perhaps. You've modeled the strategy and given the readers some guidelines for the activity, and now it's time for the readers to put the strategy into action. Depending on the length of the article or the text, you will need to decide how to divide your sections up. Ideally, paragraphs work well, but if the paragraphs are shorter, you can chunk the text into larger portions. The first portion should be completed by the teacher like before. Since everyone has their own papers, students should be recording the teacher's thoughts and comments onto their own paper as it is presented before them. After the teacher think aloud, students and teacher will work together to read the article and mark up the article. Students can read the article or text and volunteer any connections, questions, predictions, and inferences they may have. The teacher will record them on his or her paper, and the students will follow suit. Next, students will pair up with a partner, reading aloud to do the same activity, recording the thoughts of their partner and their own as well on their papers. Students will then break off independently, typically to finish the assigned text. Because we don't want to release complete responsibility on the students, the teacher should check back in with the students at the end of the lesson to hear and record some of the thoughts and questions students had. Combining together again gives students who may have struggled with the activity an opportunity to hear some of the reflection of others to help spark an idea within themselves. Allowing time for independent practice gives the teacher an opportunity to formally assess students' understanding of the strategy. To get a general idea of how the whole class is doing, the teacher can give everyone the same article to quickly check in with students to help them reflect on their thoughts, questions, and understandings. When students talk to the text with their own reading books, teachers can confer with students individually to ensure students are on the right path with the strategy. Using their reading books makes the strategy more authentic because it's something the students are interested and engaged in. Students are not reading the book just to complete the activity, but rather are reading it for pleasure, which could help them in the process of the strategy. Before we get started with your guided practice, I wanted to give you an opportunity to extend on this activity as well. As we mentioned before, conversations are important no matter if they are internal or external when it comes to the comprehension of the text. Now that you've completed the talking to the text strategy, which is an internal Each step of this process is meant to deepen each student's understanding of a text further than what they accomplish independently. Every student has different background knowledge, so speaking with others is a great way to further their understanding of a topic or challenge their ideas. Now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, it's your turn. Here's your chance to talk to the text. The following article entitled, "Doctor Says It's Best to Keep Volume at Medium or Lower with Earbuds" is from Newsela, which is an online news source. To access the article as a Google Doc, you will need to make a copy of the article to mark up the text electronically. If you would like to read the article as a paper-based version, please print the article from the Google Doc. I will also be marking up the text by sections, so if you would like to compare our thoughts, please continue on to the next slide after you read each section. Pause the video now to mark up your text. Let's get ready to kick off this talking to the text strategy. As I mentioned before, you can do the strategy with a pen and paper or electronically. I'm choosing to do an electronic version for the sake of this presentation, but normally I choose the pen and paper method. While we're on here, I'll just let you know some of the features I find especially helpful. To highlight something with a color as if you had an actual highlighter, you just select all the text with your cursor, and then you go up to the A button, click on highlight, and then choose any color. So I'll just choose yellow. And if you click off of it, that shows you how to highlight. To underline something, you select all the text again, and then go up to this U and hit underline. And if you click off of it again, it'll show you that it's underlined. And if you would like to make a comment, you select the text once again, go up to this comment section, hit comment, and you write your comment. I'm just going to write the title. And then you have to hit on this blue comment section in order to publish the comment. I think those are all the features that are really important for this activity. If you would like to make this a partner activity, students can share the document with each other and are able to go through the same process on the same document. So, for instance, if I had a partner and they had a comment, they would be able to highlight the same things and their comments would show up on the document as well. All right, let's get started. Doctor says it's best to keep volume at medium or lower with earbuds. A woman uses earbuds on the metro subway in Mexico City, Mexico. Just judging by the picture and knowing that she's on the subway, my connection, I know whenever you're on public transportation, it's really, really loud because there's different conversations and other things going on. So I know her music level is probably to the max, if not really, really close, because she's trying to drown out all of those external sounds that she's hearing. So I'm just going to make a comment about that because I have a connection. Question. I just got a new iPhone. I can't decide what kind of headphones I should be using with it. I read somewhere that earbuds are worse for you than headphones that fit over your ear. I'm wondering, is this because the earbuds are directly in your ear versus the headphones that just lay on top of your ear? Is that true? I don't want to damage my hearing using the wrong kind. Answer. Here's what science has to say. At the end of the day, nothing really matters but volume. That's interesting. I'll highlight that so I remember that later. By itself, no pair of headphones is good or bad for your hearing. However, picking the right headphones can help you listen to your music more responsibly. How loud can you go? The louder a sound is, the more quickly it can cause injury to your ears. I wonder if the length of time matters as well. Because I know earlier it said medium, you should keep the volume at medium to low. So I'm wondering if you can go longer with it being lower or if it still matters. So let's go ahead and make a comment because I have a connection. Actually, I have a question. If you're not careful, a powerful sound wave can actually tear right through your delicate eardrum. That sounds really painful, but I'm going to highlight that because that's really important. I don't think a lot of people realize that music can tear through your eardrum. That's unlikely to happen while blasting music, though. So when does it happen? Most hearing loss is a result of nerve damage, and your smartphone is more than capable of wrecking your ears that way. So that's important, that it's the result of nerve damage. A decibel is a unit that measures the intensity of sound. It's important as well. Let me highlight that. The noise produced by busy city traffic is about 85 decibels. You can be exposed to 85 decibels pretty much all day without causing nerve damage. Wow. So I'm just going to make a comment. How much is, I guess, how many decibels is too much? Because 85 decibels seems a lot, especially if you think about city traffic. It's really loud, and that hurts my ears after a few minutes, but being exposed to that all day and it doesn't cause nerve damage, that's crazy. Things quickly become dangerous once you get louder than that. Okay. The noise level produced at a rock concert or a chainsaw is about 115 decibels. At this level, nerve damage can happen in less than a minute. Okay. So this answered my question. So let's highlight that, but we're also going to make a comment about it. I know from being at concerts myself, after about a few minutes, I kind of feel like I'm going deaf. I know I'm not, but it's just the feeling I get. I get a ringing in my ear. So maybe that is nerve damage occurring? You might not immediately notice significant hearing loss as a result of that nerve damage. Still, it will add up over time. I agree. Some smartphones can crank music all the way up to 120 decibels. That is crazy. Let me highlight that. If you listen to an entire album at that volume, you might notice hearing loss by the time you took off your headphones. So that might be the ringing feeling that I'm feeling. Advice from an ear surgeon. According to the World Health Organization, 1.1 billion teens and young adults globally are at risk of developing hearing loss. That is a lot. Just highlight that. I don't think people realize that they're at risk. This is mostly due to personal audio devices, so like the iPhones, MP3 players. Let's just write that. The solution is clear: turn the music down. That's important, so we'll highlight that. Aaron Perlman is an ear surgeon at Weill Cornell Medicine in New York Presbyterian Hospital. He sees many patients who have hearing loss or ringing in their ears. Oh, so I'm not the only one. I'm not alone. Makes me feel a little better. For these patients, I'll tell them never to put the iPod above medium volume. But how do you know? Because most iPhones have just a bar. How do you know exactly where medium is? Like, how do you know? How can you judge on an iPhone that just has a bar what exactly is too high? How low? How high can you go? So maybe these iPhone manufacturers can start to do like low, medium, high. So let's try and put that in a comment. Okay, so that was a lot. I'll just read it. On an iPhone, there aren't exact levels to gauge what the sound level is, and it is up to the user to infer this. Can Apple and other phone companies make it more clear to their users what exactly the volume is? Can that help to lessen the amount of hearing loss cases there are in the world? I think if they were to put those meters on the volume bars for the music, that would definitely lower just the amount of cases that there are in the world, and wouldn't have as many patients that are having that ringing in their ears. You still would have some people that wouldn't care, but a lot of people, if they were aware of the effect that it's having, they would want to be aware of what volume they're using to take care of themselves. Perlman also thinks it's a good idea for everyone to keep that little volume slider centered right in the middle. Oh, that answers my question. Or even farther to the left. So we'll highlight that. He thinks this is a good idea even for people who have not noticed any hearing loss yet. If you do that, you're never going to have it loud enough to damage your ears. It's good to know. Pros and cons of different headphones. Perlman can't tell patients what kind of headphones to use. All of them have different benefits and downsides. Earbuds have a bad reputation because they sit in your ear canal, releasing the sound closer to your ear. That means you're getting closer to the full force of sound at whatever decibel the music is playing. I think this whole paragraph is important. Big padded over-ear headphones do not sit as close to your eardrum, but they still trap in sound so that it reaches your eardrum at nearly full force. Wow, so it doesn't matter which one you use. Then there are those over-ear headphones that used to come with portable CD players. I don't know. I'm not sure which ones those are. Maybe I should look those up at the end of this article. They distribute sound over your ear instead of directing it inward. That's bad news for your listening experience, but healthier for your ears. So let me read that one more time. They distribute sound around your ear instead of direct. Okay, that's bad news for your listening experience, but healthier for your ears. Okay, well, we want it. If you're thinking about your health, those are probably the best ones. I wonder if they still sell those. A habit of turning it all the way up. So this heading is in quotation marks, and I know there's a popular song out that's called All the Way Up, so I'm wondering if it's like a play on words. So I'm just going to highlight that so I remember it because I know makes me want to sing the song, but I'm just wondering if maybe there's a connection to pop culture and popular songs and popular music. Solid plastic in-ear headphones, like the ones that come with the iPhone, are quite bad at blocking out background noise, and I completely agree. When I'm listening with those headphones, I know this is terrible, but I often have to push in my headphones just so I can hear a little bit better because I feel like I can still hear, like they're not all the way in my ear, they're halfway hanging out. So that's probably even worse for my eardrums and causing hearing loss. This might make you want to pump up the volume. Yes, it does. Noise isolating over-ear headphones, squishy earbuds, or custom molded headphones can block out the background noise, making the world around you less bothersome. Yes, I used to have some of these headphones, and they were wonderful. The right headphones are whichever ones help you resist the temptation to turn the music up. Unfortunately, that's easier said than done. We'll highlight that because that's important. Perlman recommends that his patients get custom-made earbuds to more effectively block background noise. I'm wondering who sells those. What's the process for getting custom-made ones? Would you have to go to an ear doctor, or would you go straight to like a headphone company? In theory, this should encourage them to listen at lower volumes, but I think people just have a habit of turning it all the way up, he says. We have now reached the end of my presentation. I hope you will implement the talking to the text strategy in your own classroom. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me. My email can be found on the first page of this slide. And have a wonderful day, and please don't forget to take the survey as well.